everybody. Well, welcome to Tech Wednesday. I must admit, I'm a little surprised, in awe, so encouraged that you're all here in August. I mean, who said you can't have an event in August? You guys are just proving everyone wrong. This is absolutely incredible. Is it your first time tonight? Oh, a little hand raise. This is what we like. Be proud. Oh, excellent. Well, very, very welcome to you all. Hello. Some people, very big smiles at the back. Okay, so you know where you are. You're at Tech Wednesday. In case you forget, just read that hashtag and it will instantly remind you. We have a snazzy Twitter fall over here. So if you use either of those two tags, it will come in there. Maybe ask some questions, do a little shout out. It's a great way to kind of get yourself known and put yourself out there, maybe help you network at the end. So I did mention who's here for the first time. I can see a lot of you have badges, which is really great. Not all of you have stickers, though. It's a shame you've not embraced that part of the evening, but we'll let you off. It is August, after all. You would have put stickers on your badges, and the whole point of these is just to help you guys network. So we get a lot of people say they come to networking events and they struggle to do it efficiently. They're not quite sure who they're meeting or what they're about. The whole point of these stickers is to give you purpose as to what you're here and what you're looking for. So if you're hiring, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're orange. If you're a startup, running a business, obviously green. Looking for opportunities, that could be anything. Maybe you're looking for a job. Maybe you're looking to invest. Maybe you're looking to co-found something with somebody. Then you are yellow. I quite like yellow because you never quite know what you're going to get when you're talking to a yellow. Developer, very highly sought after. And if you're marketing, or maybe you're a business, branding, comms guru, you tend to have blue. And obviously, if you're first time, you have a gold star. So I'm very pleased to welcome you all, you gold starers. If you do see someone with a gold star, please go and say hello, because, you know, it's a bit nerve-wracking when you're first time somewhere, and we do want everyone to feel welcome. So here at Innovation Birmingham, so there are obviously quite a few new guys here. We are a lot more than just a venue and a place that do awesome events. We look after over 160 businesses, providing a range of business support, helping you take your innovative idea and product to market. And it's something we really specialize in. We do that over a range of projects and activities, various logos there. Your best bet, really, rather than me bore you to death explaining it all, is please come and speak to myself or Naomi. Give us a little wave. Or Abdul at the back. Can you just give us a wave, Abdul? Beautiful. No, you're not Abdul. Abdul's in the blue. Although you are one of our companies on site, so you can definitely give people a good, honest review, which is what we like. Okay, so what's on? So we have a couple of amazing events coming up. Expert Masterclass Workshop, which is being put together by Abdul and Naomi. So this is a 2-day event. If you've recently started a business and you're just looking for a bit of advice, not quite sure where to start, what support's out there, some basics to get yourself up and running, please do come along to this free event. We've got a couple of people giving workshops, advice, seminars. It's a jam-packed 2-day experience. Please get in touch if you want to know more about it. Again, Naeem and Abdul are your best port of call. Spaces are running out, so definitely please sign up quick to make sure you get a slot. And then second of all, we are hosting Venture Fest here at Innovation Birmingham, which we are really, really excited about. I know a lot of you go to Venture Fest and would be a part of that. We're also excited to say that Pitch Fest will once again be playing a big part of that. So if you want to know more about that, come along to that event. You are more than welcome. Please come speak to me about it as well. Oh, wow, look at that picture. How exciting. Okay, well, that is our first speaker, thank goodness, otherwise that would have been a little bit awkward. So we have Gurpreet. Where are you? Gurpreet at the back. So Gurpreet is co-founder of easyFood and cross-border VAT, and he is also one of our companies on site on our eFresh project. So we're very excited to hear all about it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pia. So yeah, if you can't tell, I'm wearing the turban and I'm the one on the right in that picture. So there's Stelios in the middle and my partner in business, Jeevan. This picture was taken around about this time last year, and it was probably the icing of a very long baked sort of journey through innovation and entrepreneurship, which lasted around about 12 or so years, 14 years maybe, when I came up with the idea for easyFood, which in a nutshell is Just Eat, delivery, Uber Eats, ordering from your local takeaways and restaurants. So I thought of that, when I was about 24, 25 years old. Just Eat hadn't arrived, and I did something about it, but it didn't quite take off. Kept it on a slow burner, and after 12, 13 long years, signed a deal with Sir Stelios. So I'll come back to that in a few minutes. On the left, you can see I've got a few other. I've just come on the E4F program for cross-border VAT, which is a solution for VAT to help online sellers, and that came about through a website which I founded. My family background in business is fashion. We manufacture clothing, so I joined the family business when easyFood didn't take off, started selling online, and then found a problem which was all about VAT and selling cross-border and accounting for VAT in different countries, and through that came up with cross-border VAT. So I'll try to juggle and keep to a sort of timeline of events, but normally I wear one of these hats or my turban, and it's quite easy to stay on topic, but I might be crisscrossing across the three. So this was our trademark that we got, I think, registered back in, we filed it in 2008, and it took us nearly 2 years to get this registered because we had a lot of opposition from the Easy family of brands, etc., and Stelios. But I don't think he quite understood how far this could go and how big it would get. Otherwise, he would definitely not have let this come through. But we got this trademarked. I bought the domains easyfood.com, easyfood.co.uk, and a few others around the world, and raised a lot of money through family and friends. And I always knew since then that I had an ace up my sleeve, and this was it. And it would pay off one day, which it did last year. But I'll get back to that. So that was where my journey began in entrepreneurship and innovation. Coming from a family background, came up with a great idea. Thought, back in those days, it was all about WAP. It's called WAP, right? It wasn't 3G or 4G or anything. It was just tech-based services on smartphones. But I knew definitely people are not going to be ringing up to place their orders. They're going to be doing it through their smartphones. That's way before there was any decent smartphones. That's when we came up with easyFood. But I'm going to jump to Love Fashion now because, we raised a lot of money through family and friends, and it didn't quite take off because we're too early to the market. This was too innovative for the space at the time. Restaurants didn't quite understand that this is where the future was going to lie. It's going to be on apps, etc. They believed everyone's going to be picking up the phone. But right now, the ratio between phone orders and online orders is 60% order through the phone and 40% is through apps, through an independent takeaway. So, a big chunk of those phone orders have turned into app orders. But when easyFood didn't take off and we had to keep it on the back burner and we still had to put up a fight against Stelios and raise money to go to court, etc., I had to do something. So I joined the family business and I started, even though we were just manufacturing and wholesaling, I started doing retailing. So, the easiest way to do that was get onto eBay, get onto Amazon, set up a website and just start selling. And that was back in October 2010. And this sort of graph here is to show that, you can sell in lots of different places. Everybody knows the term omni-channel now, etc. And then you can start shipping all around the world. You start receiving lots of different currencies. And if you go from left to right, you lose a lot of data in that process. So at the source of the transaction, what was sold, where it was sold to, where it was shipped from, what currency it was sold in, what money you received, etc., etc. You have all that information. But when you get to the right, which is my NatWest bank account, you lose all of that and you end up with just some money in your account. And when it comes to working out the VAT owed, it's not as simple as just paying 20% on that amount there, because there's lots of different rules and regulations that come into VAT. You have to start looking at thresholds between different countries, where the movement was from. Everyone's heard of fulfillment by Amazon when it comes to prime selling, receive next day, etc. They've got warehouses all around Europe now. So as an online seller, you may be storing your goods all around Europe. So it brings up a whole host of complications when it comes to VAT. So I saw this problem and working out what your VAT should be meant that you had to become an Excel wizard, learn how to do VLOOKUPs and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, there's thousands of sellers out there that cannot just do this and can't be getting it right. And then there were a few agencies or consultancies that would charge thousands of pounds to get you registered and help you work out your VAT. And I thought, that's not on either, because you're just getting ripped off. So that's when I came up with cross-border VAT. So this is only a couple of years old, and it basically does the job of what an accountancy package can't do. So you would expect, let me plug in all my eBay channels, my Amazon channels, my Shopify website, etc., into Sage or into Xero, into my online QuickBooks account in accountancy software, and it will just spin off the VAT. But they don't. And the reason why they're not designed to do that is because it's so much more complicated when it comes to cross-border VAT selling. My next slide. Okay, so this is a dashboard of the software. So if you can think of this as filling a gap between where you're selling and your accountancy software. So this is a satellite program which is bringing in big data from all your selling channels, and then it pigeonholes it and monitors thresholds in different countries and FBA movements, etc., to then show your liability and all your sales in one place and spits out what your VAT is, maybe for France or for Germany or for, you know, whatever country that you need to be registered in, and helps you also monitor your sales. So this is actually a graph of my real sales. So you can see actually it's only showing from January 2012. I said October 2010 to you. And in October 2010, I say that because I actually used to do the market stalls in Bescott, Warsaw, and Birmingham. Because I had to learn the trade from scratch. So even though I've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds trying to get easyFood off the ground, it's not working. I need to start earning money straight away. I learned the family trade from right at the bottom on the market stalls for a couple of years, waking up at 4 in the morning, setting up stalls, selling, learning how it works, what the market wanted, giving that feedback back into the family business, changing things around, sizing charts, etc. Started selling online in January 2012. You can see there's a huge peak there in December 2012, which is when onesies went through the roof. You know, I don't know if you remember that year, but everybody wanted to wear a onesie, and you couldn't get it on the high street. And obviously, because we were manufacturers, we could make them and sell them, and I was charging, you know, we were making them for £10, selling them for 70, 80 pounds, and we could only make 200 a day, and they would sell out. So this is actually real data of all my sales up until January last year, and you can see the different currencies coming in, etc. So this is really different because you don't get to see this on omni-channel aggregator platforms like Limworks or Channel Advisor, etc. This accounts for every single transaction, including refunds, and shows you, and you can really drill into the data in real time. I mentioned thresholds. I don't want to spend too much and complicate you on VAT because it can get quite boring. But if you imagine the UK threshold, if you sell it here in the UK for VAT, is what, £85,000. If you're from a different country, it's called a European distance selling threshold, which is £70,000. Now, every European country has that threshold. And for you as an online seller, you have to monitor that threshold, your sales, into every country on a monthly basis. So you can imagine how much extra work that's going to mean for you. So the software is doing that automatically. Austria, for example, I'm just halfway towards the threshold at this time point. Belgium, 10%. So it's going to do a lot of work for you on the fly. So it's a software as a service product. Here, you can see, I think this is for France. The red line there is showing that France's threshold is 100,000 euros, which means basically if you ship into France in a calendar year from the 1st of January to the 31st of December, anywhere over 100,000 euros worth, you will have to register for VAT in France and have to pay every month. So it's an extra burden on your business. And as you can see, I didn't really used to ship a lot into France when it came to 100,000. But then the French authorities have lowered their threshold from 100,000 to 35,000 now. The reason being because they want to catch more people in their VAT net so they can collect more money. And this is what's going to happen, especially after Brexit. Everyone's going to get tighter and want to collect all their VAT because there's a lot of money which is owed but never gets paid. And slowly governments are moving into having all transactions in the cloud. France has already announced it, Greece has announced it. So if you sell online, it won't be you fill in the form and you pay the VAT. It will be, we can see what you owe us, we'll just take it ourselves. That's what they want in the future. So this is a quick summary of what that cross-border VAT is all about. It's all about big data, wherever you're selling it, bringing it into the sort of brain of cross-border VAT and spitting out an Excel file at the moment. But in the future, it will plug in directly into Xero or into QuickBooks or into any accounting software, and it will just be seamless with your normal accounting practices. So it doesn't matter how you sell, it'll just become part of your routine. The next slide. So Love Fashion was something for me to survive with, but I again found another problem. Came up with an innovative software solution. Couldn't find anything out there that did it, so made it, which was great. And now, last year, coming back to the very first picture, signed a deal with Stelios and became part of the Easy family of brands. Took on their branding, and I can say that Stelios is a business partner of mine. He owns a third of the business, along with my other business partner. And normally people just license the brand, but he's actually in the business. He's a shareholder. And we have regular business meetings, etc. And he really believes in easyFood because it resonates with him, the way that he launched EasyJet when he took on British Airways and the big airline companies, when he brought cheap flights. You know, he is the innovator when it comes to budget airline flights. And with easyFood, we want to do exactly the same when it comes to commission-based app ordering agencies, which we don't really believe in, and it's not really fair on the restaurant owner. So a lot of you probably use Just Eat, Deliveroo, Uber Eats, etc., but what you probably don't know is a large chunk of your money is going to that big brand. It's not going in the restaurant's pocket. So, you know, restaurant owners are either inflating their prices or cutting down portions, or they have to do something to cover those costs. easyFood is all about fair transparency and a fixed cost model. So we want to disrupt the sort of market which is out there at the moment. So at the moment, we've got a takeaway app that we're developing, managers, which puts a lot of control in the takeaway owners' hands. They can change menu prices on the fly, real time. They can contact their local customers in real time, send out offers, etc. And we're going to plug it in with their phone orders. Because it's going to be a fixed fee model, it doesn't matter how many orders they get, whether somebody phones in that order or they uses an app to place that order. For the restaurant owner, all their orders will come out through their local machine. So we've got a simple takeaway machine, and we're also building in a full-blown EPOS system, which is fully integrated with their online sales. So if they're a bigger outfit and they want waiters to have handheld devices, drivers to have handheld devices, we're building that whole of that ecosystem to enable them to do so. On the front-facing side, obviously, the consumer is going to have a consumer app, the iOS app, and the Android app, which are still in development. We have launched in Birmingham as a pilot with 200 takeaways, and we're learning from that, and we're generating, a lot of interest outside of Birmingham as well. But right now, it's about getting it right, making sure that our product is what we want it to be before we roll it out even further, and taking on the Easy brand. In my experience, a lot of people's experience, people resonate with it. They know that it's fair, it's good value, and Stelios himself brings a lot of PR. And the last slide is just to show you that we were in the Sunday Times when we launched, and that generated a lot of interest. I had people fly out from Kuwait, from the Middle East, that want to take the concept over there. The journey, even though it's taken so long, what I want to say to you, especially for the new guys in the room, that are being innovative and are entrepreneurs, is not to give up, is to always be fighting, do what you need to do. I mean, I worked the market stalls. I had to keep raising the money to fight the court battles with Stelios. We had enough knockbacks. We've had investment now from Stelios. We've had investment from third-party outside private equity firms. You can get there in the end. It's just never give up. But yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
So, do you have any questions before you run away? Oh my goodness, hand up straight away.
Yeah, so how awkward is it that he was taking you to court, and so he was taking you to court for 10 years, and then you have the discussion that he comes on board as a business partner. So is that an awkward thing in business meetings? Do you bring up, like, actually, you probably owe me a couple more 100,000 in terms of court fees, or is that just water under the bridge?
Yeah, so because I had to rush through this, I couldn't really explain the whole journey properly with easyFood. So he would always file a case, and we would put up a fight, raise an appeal, last minute he'd drop it, etc. But it still costs money. So he's just thinking we're cowboys and we can't afford it, and we can't. He's trying to drain us of funds. That's how. So it's on and off for a decade or so. But it was only last year that he filed a high court class action. And the reason was because he was going up against Easy Roommate. And if you've heard of Viva Street, and Viva Street Services, the same owner as that, and he's got big money. And so he thought, well, I'm going to have to spend big money. I might as well spend it big and take on all the little small fish everywhere. And so in terms of the money that we spent, it's just water under the bridge, to be honest. And it was actually, we used it to our advantage, because when he filed the High Court class action, we took on the best IP lawyer. Her name's Amanda Holden, I think, from Number 2 Chambers. Something ridiculous, like £15,000 a day or something. So it's way better than the lawyers that he had representing him. And we applied to have the High Court case kicked out, and so we could fight it in what's called an IPEC, an Intellectual Property Enterprise Court, which is supposed to be a 2-day hearing. And that's designed where you've got a David versus Goliath sort of case scenario where so somebody can't bully the other. So if both parties are agreeable, you normally just sign off and you get it done. But Stelios, being Stelios, didn't agree to it, right? He wanted to fight us in high court because he knew that he could just blow us away with his cash. So we had to take him into another court to say we'd like the chance to fight this in IPEC. And that's where we spent our big money, because we knew that was us rolling the dice. If we win that day, it's like a game of chess then, isn't it, really? So we fought that in court, we blew them out of the water, and then Stelios is now on the back foot, and he's starting to make offers for the business, etc. And we turned around to his solicitors.
There's a natural, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Chat to Gurpreet at the end, he's going to finish that story. We're so behind. I think we can wait to the end. I'm so sorry, but the show must go on. The show must go on. Excellent, well done. Sorry. Very, very good. Okay, woo, what a dramatic story. Oh my goodness, we're gonna move on. Okay, so next we have Shammi, who is Regional Cities Lead for Uber. He has an incredible story, great background. I'm ready for the next installment, so over to you when you are. Do you need a clicker?
Yeah, I do. How long have I got? 15? About 15. Brilliant. Great to be here today. The screen just went blank, which isn't the best start. Okay, we're there. Cool. Is that you glitching out, or is that something going on my side? We'll get there, guys. We'll get there. I think if you leave it up here, maybe it's this thing flicking a little bit. Cool. So, as mentioned, I'm the Regional Cities Lead for Uber. This is my 4th role at the company. I started off here at Uber in 2015 when we launched in Birmingham. And my first role was working to scale the business up and down the UK and launching it in multiple places. It's hard to think of a time when Uber didn't exist in Birmingham, considering the scale that we're at now. And my role now today is working with regulators and policymakers to see how we can predict and basically shape the future of urban mobility. Cool. So I thought it'd be worth giving you a little bit of background story on how Uber all started. Some of you may be already clued up on how it all started and what the story is, but considering many of you in the audience today are running your own businesses in the early stage, I thought it'd be interesting for you to see the humble beginnings of Uber. So this is a picture of our ex-CEO, Travis Kalanick, and his co-founder, Garrett Camp. And they are, as you can tell, in front of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Back in 2009, they were there for a tech conference. They left this tech conference, they were doing a bit of sightseeing, and they couldn't, for the life of them, get a cab back to their hotel. They were sitting there, stranded, in the middle of a city they didn't know, and they were like, considering today, in 2009, we've got GPS, we've got mobile data, smartphones, surely I should just be able to pull my phone out of my pocket, hit a button, and a car comes to pick me up. This is where the idea originally came from. Fast forward to a year or two, when the company was about 12 months old, gathering a bit of pace locally in San Francisco, Travis Kalanick sent out this tweet looking for entrepreneurial product manager / biz dev killer. I'm not sure why the word killer was included there. For a location-based service, pre-launch, big equity, big peeps involved. Any tips? There was a tweet in between here where one of Travis Kalanick's mates basically tweeted a guy called Ryan Graves, who became our vice president. He recently left in an operational role, and he sits on the board at the moment. And he replied saying, here's a tip, email me, graves.ryan@gmail.com. So this is actually how the original team started. Ryan Graves was the first employee of Uber. And last year, Forbes predicted his wealth at $1.8 billion. So pretty cool story, right? This is the first ever Uber office in San Francisco. Look at that, right? Two like pine wood desks. I saw this and thought of Mike Vander and his old desk that he used to have in the Town Partners office. So Mike Vander, high expectations if you look exactly like this. That's the first ever Uber app, really clunky. You can see it's an MVP, but it did the job, right? This is what basically gave them the evidence of demand that they were looking for to think, this could be big, this could scale. Fast forward, hit the hyperdrive button. This is basically Uber, Zero, launched in 2010 in San Francisco. In 2012, we hit 1 million trips. In 2015, we hit 1 billion. 2017, we hit 2 billion. And 2 months ago, in June of 2018, we hit 10 billion total trips. So we now operate across 600 cities, across 80 countries, and all continents on the planet. It's a pretty amazing story. What does this look like in the UK? We're almost 6 years old. We are 6 years old. I should have updated this slide. We're licensed by 80 local authorities in the UK. We operate under private hire licensing. We operate in different regulatory systems across the world. We operate in over 40 towns and cities. Demand's continuing to grow. Number of Uber partners on the system is anywhere between 50 and 60,000 in the UK at any given week. We've got millions of passengers, and demand just continues to grow, and our rate of growth is not slowing down. Similar story for Uber in Birmingham. So this is actually the first ever Uber office. Although when we launched in 2015, we were a well-funded business at the time. I think our valuation is something between $30 and $40 billion. We had humble beginnings in Birmingham. It really did operate like a startup. We had our own P&L. It was 5 of us in a cramped 2-person office sitting on boxes. This was a photo that was taken after our first ever driver event, which we hold for our local drivers. Oh God, is that the end of it? Tech help. Well, no, it's fine, it's fine. I think it's my crummy adapter that I'm using. That's our first ever driver office. So this was our kind of corporate office, we called it. That's where the drivers used to come to get onboarded. You'll notice there's some people sitting on a white object. That is a freezer, sorry. The reason they're sitting on a freezer is some of you, did anyone here know about Uber ice cream? Did anyone ever order Uber ice cream? Yeah. So the ice creams that you ate at one point were actually in that freezer. And they weren't sitting on it at the time, but we ended up keeping the freezers because we didn't have enough chairs for drivers. So we're like, oh, they'll sit on the freezers, I'll be fine. This is York's Cafe, the old York's Cafe on Newhall Street. Some of you may remember it, next to Pernell's Bistro. We often ended up working there instead of our main office because we had a leaky roof, and we also didn't have reliable Wi-Fi. So Uber was pretty much built and scaled from York's Cafe. Another little interesting bit of information for you. Fast forward to today. So we launched in February 2015. We've launched Uber Eats, our food delivery service, in 2017. We see visitors from 80 different countries taking trips in Birmingham with Uber. So these people have downloaded the app somewhere else in the world, and they come to Birmingham of all places and use the app. And that's the benefit of being such a big company with widespread. It enables people who use the same technology, same app in another country to come to another location and have the same experience. You can get a car in under 5 minutes, as you guys know. Typically, if you're in the city centre, you can probably get one in 2 minutes. Sometimes it's instantaneous, which is pretty amazing, and it's a great experience. Sweet. So what does the future hold for Uber? Quick video here. There's no sound to it, but it's just something for you to see. This is our first generation self-driving vehicle. Now, we really see self-driving vehicles in the future of urban mobility because 94% of all road accidents that happen on the road happen because of human error. The technology is in its early stages for any of the players in the market that are developing self-driving technology. At the moment, it gets tripped up by things like diversions, bad weather, the sensors stop playing up, and it's not really reliable to work on its own at the moment. So there's the problem of fixing the technology and getting it to a place where it's reliable and it's working really well. But the other side of it is thinking about how do we implement this technology? How do you actually use self-driving technology? The benefit of self-driving technology is pretty much lost if all of us just move out of driving our own vehicles to sitting in the back of self-driving vehicles. If we all went out and bought a self-driving vehicle for ourselves, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? The true benefit of self-driving vehicles are going to come when they're shared, right? One of the biggest issues we face everywhere in the world is the underutilization of vehicles and things like congestion. It's all a hot topic at the moment, air pollution, congestion in cities, particularly in places like Birmingham where we're limited by really bad infrastructure. I'm going to click this one. So what's the problem we're trying to address here? There are more than 1.2 billion cars in the world, right? That's like for every 6 or 7 people, there's a vehicle on the planet, which is pretty insane, right? But it's not actually cars that are the problem, it's how we utilize vehicles. 95% of the time, your vehicle sits idle in your driveway. You're only using it between 2.5% to 5%, right? Other than that, it's just a massive 2-ton heap of steel that takes up space. It's basically a garden ornament most of the time, right? Even when you're using it, more than likely you're using it as an individual. If anyone here commutes to work on the roads, you'll know that if you look at the car next to you, 10 cars in front of you and 10 cars behind, more than likely they've all got one person in. The average occupancy for vehicles across the UK, depending on where you are, is anywhere between 1.3 and 1.7. That means on average, each vehicle has, when it's being used, 1.3 people in it. Considering most vehicles are 5-seaters, it's pretty insane, right? If you're an alien that came down to Earth and you just observed people getting to work, you'd be like, there's vehicles here with 5 seats, but they've each got one person in it. It's pretty insane, right, when you think of it that way. In addition to the fact that 22% of all carbon emissions come from transportation, right? We all know this is a hot topic at the moment. So this is the massive problem that we're faced with at the moment. So we know the future self-driving. We also know that it needs to be shared. There was a study conducted by the International Transport Forum. They looked at an average size European city. I think they used Lisbon as an example, and they ran some modeling to see what it would look like if we had shared self-driving technology operating in a place like Lisbon, similar size city to Birmingham, I guess you could say. They found that we could deliver the same amount of service level, i.e. everyone could get to where they wanted to, but we could do it with only 10% of the vehicles. Can you imagine wiping out 90% of the cars in Birmingham immediately, what that would do for congestion and your experience in the city? 15 to 20% of curb-to-curb street space would be freed up. On average in a city, 14% of a city is used for parking spaces, right? You really get a sense of this scale when you drive up to Birmingham Airport and there's like a slope that you go up and you get a view of all the car parks and you just see a sea of like these heaps of steel. People drive to airports and dump their car there for weeks on end. 80% of off-street parking could be removed, and you can use this additional space for other things, schools, parks, whatever you want. Why haven't we done this? This is the question that we ask ourselves at Uber, right? We've got vehicles that can fit multiple people in them, but we're not fitting multiple people in them. We're all driving our own cars, causing loads of congestion. What's the problem here? Why are people not sharing their vehicles? 2 reasons. 2 reasons. Reliability and affordability. So you're only going to give up ownership of your own vehicle if you've got a reliable alternative. If you imagine like a reliability scale, let's call it, 0 being a really unreliable form of transport and 10 being you've got your own car. You know every single time that you want to get into your car, you open the front door and your vehicle's there. That's 10 out of 10 for reliability. Unless your car's broken down, you know you can get into a form of transport, right? Affordability. You know how much it costs to run a car. If you can afford to run that car and it's delivering the service that you want from it, then you're going to be happy, right? So to make people give up their car or make them share their vehicle, they need to have a reliable or an affordable alternative, right? We've started heading towards a place where we've got a product that delivers this. This is a visualization of pickup times in Southern California. I did have one for Birmingham, but I couldn't find it, unfortunately. If I find it, I'll try and get it around to everyone. You can see here that when we launch in a city, ETA's estimated time of arrival for a vehicle to come and pick you up pretty high. But as we get liquidity and we scale and the business gets bigger, wait times drop significantly. And you've seen that in places like Birmingham as well, right, where you can get a car super quick. What this means is we've started providing people with a reliable and an affordable alternative to owning a vehicle. In addition to this, early on in San Francisco, our engineers had a pretty obvious brain spark. They thought there's loads of trips that are starting in one location or similar to each other and ending in a similar location. What if we just pair those two people up and put them into one vehicle? Makes sense, right? This was when the idea of Uber Pool was created. Now, it was a theory at the time. We thought, well, would people actually want to share vehicles? This is weird, right? Getting in the back of a car with a stranger. There's so many things to consider: safety, personal comfort. How much of an inconvenience is it going to be? And it was just an idea. We launched it, and it worked. You can see here traffic volumes, and the data speaks for itself. Total Uber trips had we not implemented Uber Pool versus total trips and traffic volume with Uber Pool. We're seeing in cities like San Francisco now, where we're a mature market, 50% of the time when people request an Uber, they're requesting Uber Pool and they're sharing their vehicle, which is pretty amazing statistic, right? One of the benefits of US cities like San Francisco and in New York is you have a grid-based system. That means you're more likely to match people who are going in the same direction, and you get a pretty efficient route. The problem we have in the UK with our Victorian road system is Pool doesn't work as effectively as it does in places like the US, which you may be aware if you've tried to use Uber Pool in London. We're working on it. Cool. So in the first 3 months of 2018, there were actually 244 million miles traveled in Ubers. Out of those, we saved 108 million miles because those are the miles that were traveled by Uber Pool vehicles. That saved us 2 million gallons of fuel, 19,000 tons of CO2 avoided just by putting two people into a vehicle. Now, can you imagine if we were doing this at scale in all of our cities, what we could do for congestion? So our main aim at the moment as Uber is to provide reliable transport alternatives. That's what we're concentrating on. So you'll know about Uber, UberX, Uber XL, Uber Assist, Uber Exec, Uber Access. We've spoken about self-driving vehicles. We're working on eVTOLs, which are electric vertical takeoff and landing, basically flying cars. I always forget the acronym. We're in the process of putting electric bikes onto the app. So you may have heard of a company called Jump. We acquired them a couple of months ago, or last year, I think it was. It's available in Berlin, San Francisco, and one other place in Europe. And these are basically electric bikes that you can request through the app. It shows you the location. You walk up to them, unlock them, and then take them for a spin. In addition to this, we've obviously diversified into other areas, Uber Eats being one of our businesses, and we've also got a trucking business, which I won't go into today. So ultimately, we see ourselves as more than just a ride-sharing company, right? We see ourselves as being at the forefront of the future of urban mobility. This is a quick snapshot preview of what your Uber app is going to look like in the very near future. And the screen has just decided to completely go on the last slide. There we go. You can see here it's multimodal. So soon there will be a future within the next 18 months or so when you open your Uber app and you don't just see cars. We've just signed a partnership with Virgin Trains on the West Coast mainland that enables you to book an Uber when you book a Virgin train. We're working on getting integrated with them at the back end to enable you to have your Virgin train ticket on your Uber app. This means you basically say, I want to go from my house to somebody else's house in Manchester. We take care of the rest. We book you your Uber from here to New Street Station. Your train ticket will automatically be on the app. You just scan yourself to the barrier. And when you arrive at Manchester Station or wherever you're going, we'll automatically request an Uber because we know your GPS location. We'll have it waiting for you outside. So trains, bikes, you name it, it's all coming to an Uber app near you. Thank you. Anyone got any questions?
I'm alive. Am I alive? Can you hear me? Yeah. Excellent. I am going to come to you, Mike. I didn't give you a chance last time. This is your chance for a question. Come on, you need my microphone so everyone can hear. Oh, I just would prefer it. Yeah, thanks.
Hello. Thank you very much, mate. That was wicked. What's the biggest challenge facing Uber? Is it easy food?
No, not yet. It could be easyFood very soon. Biggest challenge facing Uber is what we call proportional regulation. So at the moment, we operate under what's known as private hire licensing rules in the UK. And what this means for us is we basically operate under the same rules that any other minicab firm does. These rules were mandated by basically an act that was created in 1976 called the Miscellaneous Provisions Act. And it's totally outdated for modern technology. And there are certain limitations in there that prevent us from doing things like really accelerating ride sharing. The reason why ride sharing has done so well in the US is because they have what we call peer-to-peer. That means there's less barriers to entry for anyone to become a driver. There's less barriers to entry for you to be an Uber driver and let somebody share your vehicle with you. This means that in the UK, because of this really strong regulatory framework, we're kind of held back and we're also fighting fires in terms of trying to scale efficient solutions. At the same time, we know why regulatory statutes are there. They're for protecting the public, they're for safety reasons. But at the same time, there are certain caveats within that, which I don't need to go into now, which I could bore anyone with later on, that basically prevent us from scaling at the rate that we need to. And it's not only holding us back, it's holding back governments who are also trying to launch their own similar services, and they're realizing they can't actually operate under their own rules, which is interesting.
Very good. Any more? No. Okay, that was
Cool.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank
That
you.
was brilliant. Round of applause. Okay. Just having a little technical switcheroo. So we are on to our third speaker of the evening, which is Talha. Can you please come up? So Talha is another one of our entrepreneurs based here on campus, and he has designed the world's first digital community for Muslims? I mean, is that an accurate, brave statement of first? Well, guys, you've literally heard it here first today. This is a big deal. Put it in your calendars. Are you set and ready to go?
I believe so. Is the clicker working? Great.
I think so.
Thank you.
Okay.
So thank you for coming today. It's not an easy act coming after Uber and easyFood, but we'll try. So the Quran Club. Firstly, a bit about me. I worked as a strategy consultant in London, and I have kind of studied at LSE, worked in various different capacities within the Muslim field and within the competitive kind of commercial field. And I'm also kind of been studying Islamic studies thoughtfully, but you're probably all sitting there thinking and scratching your head, religion, more specifically, Islam. Why are we going into this field? It's so prickly, it's so difficult. Why are we beginning to even think about venturing with this? I mean, it doesn't need to go look far. Just this week, the burqa debate, things like ISIS, all these so difficult issues. Why are we entering into a space that is so tough? And the answer for that is the opportunity. Where something is so difficult and so few people understand it, if you can go into that market, specifically if you can understand that market, you can create something that's truly unique and truly the world's first. Specifically, the problem, there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. Each of those people have a very strong sense of identity. I mean, that's where many of the problems are stemming from. They have a strong identity of their faith, and they have a strong identity to one another. But yet, despite there being almost an oversaturation of social media, there is no place to bring these people together. So we propose a solution. We want to create the world's first digital community connecting Muslims together through the Quran. Why? Because the Quran is universal. Every Muslim believes and subscribes to it. It's an action-based community. There's a specific reason and purpose for people to be part of that community. It's not just kind of simply relying on that identity. It's unique. As far as I'm aware, no one else has done that to date. But yet, it's very traditional. And this is very important if anyone is to understand the community. Tradition is critical. And this is something that is born very much out of the faith. At the same time, it's virtuous, so people would want to be a part of it. And that's very topical now for anyone who's aware of social media. It's something that brings regular users, something that people would want to share. And it's also got a very strong connection to things like Ramadan, where people are very highly engaged as well. So some specific things about the Muslim community. Firstly, faith plays a big part of their identity, and I've already mentioned that as well. But there's this idea of a kind of a brotherhood of faith. People have a fraternity. People affiliate to people who are part of their faith around the world. Being part of it as a community is something that's seen as virtuous. You can help one another and so on. And more importantly, it's seen as something that people would want to share and want to be a part of. So the market, there's over 800 million individuals who are Muslim and have a smartphone currently in the world. The market is valued at around $4 trillion. Much of that is underserved at the moment. And we did our own survey of 600 people across 3 of the continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe. And over 80% of people would say they currently have a Quran app on their phone. So if we can direct people to download our app and use it as a form of community building, then we have created a space for people to connect together. Currently, apps, the figures are quite astonishing. There's so many with over 1 million downloads. The most popular one, Muslim Pro, has over 45 million downloads. But yet, many of them are very basic in what they offer. It's more or less simply a Quran reading platform with maybe a few additional things like prayer times, direction of where to pray, and so on. But yet, you can see each Ramadan, you get around 2 million downloads for just a single app. The average app is getting around 350,000 downloads a month. So it's a very high-performing area. But it's significantly underserved by the social media space. The Muslim market is a clear need, but no one has been able to enter this market. And that's not for a lack of trying. There have been people who have tried to enter this space, but didn't truly understand it like we do. And that's why I feel ourselves, we are both have the knowledge of the community that we feel we can understand the dynamics of Islam and Muslims, which allows us to build a tailored space for them. The experience that we have in the tech space and the people in our team that we have allows us to build a high-quality product which is lacking in the market. And more importantly, we've got the trust of the networks that I myself have built and our team have built across the UK and abroad. Just last month, I was in Malaysia, and we've been accepted onto an incubator program into Malaysia, and an investment program there, which we are negotiating the terms. But it's something we're getting a lot of buy-in within the community globally. So it's a high potential growth area with no existing players and too complex for competitors to enter. The perfect recipe for any successful app. So what's our business model? At the moment, we've created this funnel of a process which a user goes through. They start by reading a single verse of the Quran, or if they wish, they can read a page of the Quran, and they click on the tick on the bottom right. This verse sends a signal to our server that that person has read that page. And in turn, we collate each of the pages as they're reading them, and we tell them every time a page has been completed. That time of a page being completed is divided between each of the users on our app. And our app then uses a very smart algorithm to calculate who has contributed and how many times the Quran has been completed across the world. In the Islamic faith, that is a significant moment. People see that as a time when prayers are answered. So what we then direct our users to do is to then dedicate their prayer at the point of completing the Quran towards charitable causes, to Palestine, to Syria, to Burma, and all the other causes that people feel very passionate about. In case you didn't follow that, here's a 40-second video which explains it probably best.
In the time it takes you to press skip, you could read one verse of the Quran. That verse contributes to a shared khatam, a global completion of the Quran. That khatam is a blessed moment, the time prayers are answered. Those prayers are more likely to be answered if more people join in. That encourages more users to join the Quran Club, which leads to more khatams, which leads to more prayers, which leads to more people, which builds a community, which all helps you. All that from just 5 seconds, inshallah. Download today and be part of our community. Millions of people, thousands of khatams, one Quran. Quran Club. Connect through Quran.
So the way we generate income at the moment, that funnel of people reading a page, dedicating a page, and making a prayer creates footfall onto a donation page. And this donation page, people are dedicating their prayers, which is a free transaction, and it's a meaningful prayer for them as the user. What we've struck is a partnership with 3 of the largest Muslim charities in the UK and abroad to create almost a collaborative charitable effort for people to be able to donate financially towards those causes. But we thought if we're getting so much footfall on our donation page, most people aren't going to be giving money every single time. A far better way to make money is through donating adverts. People can go on our charitable page, they're dedicating their prayers, and they can click to watch a 30-second advert. That 30-second advert, the money goes towards the charitable cause. It's a free donation on behalf of the user, but because we've got millions of people around the world using this space, we're creating thousands of pounds for charity each month. So this video, again, brief explanation of this donate adverts feature, which I think will be useful to see.
Don't have money to give to charity? No problem. The Quran Club lets you watch an advert as a way of donating money, and it doesn't cost you a penny. Simply visit our charity page, select a cause, and click on the Donate Adverts button. For every ad you watch, money goes to the cause of your choice. If millions watch, millions are raised. If you sign up to their product, even more is donated. Do this every day and you'll build an ad streak, increasing your level on the app. And don't worry, all adverts are controlled by us, so you won't see anything inappropriate. Download today and be part of our community. Millions of people, thousands of Khatams, one Quran. Quran Club. Connect through Quran.
So we believe by harnessing faith and the positive elements of faith, we could generate a community which is donating towards charity through their faith, through prayer, but also creating good results for businesses. We have millions of people around the world in many of the emerging markets, in Malaysia, Indonesia, South Africa, Dubai. We have a great affinity because of the charity association to it, but also we have a global audience for any business that's looking to grow their app across the world in a market that's not been tapped yet. So this funnel that we expressed creates a global community, and then that community is then something that is going to be serviced over time. And each of these services, again, for the specifics of the Muslim community, have significant gaps, things that meet their food, clothing, financial needs. You'll find there is significant financial business gaps and opportunities for this market to be exploited. So we're looking to go into things like community support, products and services, advisory and consultancy, and research and education. And each of these things are very, very topical and very difficult, but at the same time create very significant opportunities for us. So this is a map of our existing users. This was accumulated after 1 month of launch of our pilot. We launched 2 years ago, not thinking much of it on a low budget, and we received 70,000 downloads in a month with very, very minimal marketing. It was around 7p per download. And we found the traction of this app was significant, which allowed us, we had to go back to the drawing board, rebuild an app that can cope with that load, and hopefully we're launching in a few weeks. Our graph of growth is as shown. We have over 3 million people who saw our adverts online. We have over 67,000 downloads from 1 month of launch, and we're expecting significant results going forward as well. We've also built in a number of viral ways for the app to grow, using what we know of the faith that allow people to share and to grow the app as well. And just some interesting things about our forecasts. We took very pessimistic estimates of retention rates and so on, but even just the scale of number of people that we have and our existing user base of 100,000 users and our partnerships with the charities, we're forecasting at least 1.5 million users by the end of the year, which is a significant growth rate, hopefully. So our 10-year vision is to connect, serve, and empower the global Muslim community, online and offline. It's a difficult topic, it's a prickly area, but we feel that we're the best people that are well-versed in the tradition, but also capable technologically to deliver this market. So thank you very much.
Questions? Yeah, again? Mike, you are keen tonight. I like it.
Thanks, that's totally fascinating, and those numbers are unbelievable as well. You said your revenue model, I don't know if I just missed it because I was looking your website as well. You said your revenue model is through donations. Are you cutting on the donation?
So yes, we've got an agreement with the charities that they are helping us to build this platform, so that in turn they're going to create their own revenue streams through the adverts. But initially they're supporting us in our growth, so they'll be giving us a cut of donations depending on the targets we reach.
Will that be the backbone, the commercial model of it?
That's the backbone of the initial commercial model, and then in 2 years' time, once we've got a market of users who we can serve, there's a number of other products we're hoping to release as well. So that's the essential model.
Do you mind me asking how much percent?
How much of a percent that we agree? It's something we've agreed with the charities confidentially, so I can't really disclose that.
Really amazing stuff. Congrats.
Thank you.
Awesome. Another one. Okay.
Sorry if I missed it, but with the retention figures, what were you classing as a retained user? What sort of activity?
So I didn't show them the model on the slides. So we classed a active user as someone who uses the app 3 times a month, and then we have a second category. There's peak times and off peak, and then we've also got active and less active. Because some people may keep the app but not use it except once a month or once a year, which is during Ramadan. And Ramadan is also the time when people are most charitable. So the model kind of works together. So we forecast around a non-active user 3 times a month and an active user around 7 times a month.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah. Put your hand up before. No.
Hi. Do you think that the sort of guilt or maybe addiction, do you think there's any, do you have any worries about maybe guilt or addiction causing negative effects on people who use your app?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
Sorry, so guilt from maybe not being able to go on the app on a particular day, or creating sort of addictive tendencies to, like, you know, rewards in the same sort of way as, you know, Facebook does. It can create sort of addictive behaviours that can be damaging for people. Do you have any concerns about that sort of thing?
So the essence of our app, of what we're trying to do, is to make a little action amplified through the sense of the community. So I'm reading a single verse, and that verse is amplified by everyone else contributing and reading the other verses. So we thought about it from that sense of allowing people to actually feel less guilty by allowing them to do what they would want to do, but in a more kind of simple manner. In terms of gamifying it or allowing people to then become addicted in the longer term, I think we're monitoring that closely. But I think from the user feedback that we're getting, many of our users who'll be using this app would like to read more, would like to be doing something. That's the idea of it being virtuous. So the fact that people are more socially aware, are giving more to charity, are praying more, is something that the user would want to increase more of. And I think that's what's very different with this space than any other space, is that user behavior and kind of increased user interaction is something the user wants to do. And generally, those communities see as something virtuous, and they would encourage as well.
Amazing. Well, that was incredible. Thank you very much. Round of applause. That is great. Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have Mark from ITV, and I'm very much looking forward to this because I love Mark and Rebecca. Rebecca there, give everybody a wave so he can talk to you at the end as well. They are incredibly passionate about making sure that ITV don't become the next blockbuster of TV advertising, and all the innovative ways of how they're doing that. And yeah, I'm very excited about that. So when you're ready, explain a bit about what you and Rebecca are doing, please, as well, and then take it away.
Can everybody hear me? I've got a big gob anyway, so it's all right. Okay, so we're... Oh, do I sound like that? We're ITV. We are the UK's best-beloved broadcaster, and we've been entertaining the nation for more than 60 years. So we're going to talk about how, I suppose, we're going about doing this, democratising TV advertising, but from the perspective of a startup within a very large organisation. So without further ado. So, startup, you say. We're actually ITV Business as a team. We are a small group that are specifically geared towards helping SMEs advertise on television. Now, what's the rationale behind this? Why are we doing this? You know, you're a big company, everybody loves you, loads of people watch Love Island. Well, we've noticed that there are a lot of tech platforms disrupting the status quo. So, one of them's in the room. And I've probably, one of you's not paying attention, you're probably on Tinder. So, yeah, so put it this way, we've all used these, we all know what they're about and everything. And we know that what they're doing is actually, they're changing the way business is done, the way people use things, and established brands are really paying the price. These are sort of the top end of some of our customers as well. So if you think about it, Toys R Us have gone down, which is very, very sad. News of the World went down, which wasn't so sad. Mac has lost a load of their market share, and Marks and Spencer are suffering as well at the moment. So it's really, you know, they haven't moved with the times. We're living in a sort of environment of innovate or die. So, why aren't you moving? Why aren't you doing? No, not you. Apologies for that. No. So, viewer habits are changing. Sorry about this. It's live. Yeah, viewer habits are changing. So obviously this is a selection of all different video on demand platforms, broadcaster video on demand platforms. I'm sure that everybody in the room has probably got at least one of these, or possibly several of them. This one's the best, by the way. So yeah, I mean, so some of them are worldwide, some of them are UK specific, and they're all different ways of viewing content. So no one wants to wait for anything anymore. So we actually looked at this, and this is the first and last graph you will see from this presentation. I'll please you to know. But if you look at this, and this is 2007, and on average we're looking at about 3.5 hours worth of television. This is when people were poor because of the recession and everything, so they watched a lot of television. But effectively what it means is a lot of TV playback, broadcaster VOD, which is what we do, and subscription VOD has ate into about an hour's worth of that 3.5 hours of television that people are watching, and it's only going to grow. And also there's a new buying behaviour of media. Can anybody tell me, who here knows what programmatic media buying is? Oh, 2, 3. Oh, fabulous. That's wonderful. You work for us, come on. So yeah, that's a lovely piece of jargon that we don't really want to know. Okay then, very simple. Traditional was you'd ring somebody up and say, oh, can I have an ad space, please? And the person in front of go, oh yeah, sure. It costs X amount. And then they go, oh, right, okay, can I have a discount? And they go, oh, no, I'll speak to my supervisor. They'll put the phone down 20 minutes before deadline, they'll ring up and they'll have a discount. So you'd have to speak to a person, you'd have to go through a negotiation period. It's really horrible, it's not fun. Then there's programmatic, where you just sit there and tap in. Everybody here, I'm sure, has probably used Google AdWords or maybe Facebook advertising and that sort of thing. That is programmatic advertising, where you sit there with a self-serve platform and the machine does it for you. This hasn't been done in broadcast television until now. So yes, so we've launched a product, and here it is. There's a nice little video.
Whether you're a small setup on the street, a budding business tasting sweet success, or a bigger brand that's flying high. Whatever the size of your business, creating an advertising campaign for the ITV Hub couldn't be easier. Register with us and get your message out there in just a few simple steps. First, select your audience. Who do you want to speak to? Where do they live? What floats their boat? Tell us about your ideal customers and we'll make sure your ad reaches them. Next, tell us when you need your ad to start and how much you want to spend. There are loads of options for all budgets and deadlines. You just need to choose the plan which suits your business best. Then, you need to upload your ad. If you've already got one up your sleeve, great. If not, our experts are on hand. They can give you all the help you need to get your message out in the best possible way. Whether it's writing it, filming it or producing it, we can walk you through the process and make sure your campaign stands out. When you've created and uploaded your ad, all you need to do is confirm your booking, we'll check everything's good to go, and within a day, your campaign could be playing out across the ITV hub, connecting you with your chosen audience. Now, once your ad is up and running, the support doesn't stop. You can see your results daily and tweak your campaign anytime you like. It's as simple as that. Tailor-made, targeted, and totally stress-free advertising is now at your fingertips. Register now and bring your brand to life.
It's all right, isn't it? It's not bad at all. I quite like that video. Seen it lots of times. So yeah, this product allows SMEs to advertise on video-on-demand television for as little as £200. So yeah, and you've got 6 different layers of how you can search for your individuals. So how old they are, their gender. We just do male, female, and other. We don't go with all the stuff that Facebook does and identifiers and crap. Postcode, whereabouts they live. Interest, that's what floats their boat. Household type and income band from about 15k up to 70k plus. So you can target the sort of individuals you're looking at. So what's the potential impact of this? Well, for us, as an example, we have only currently 2,500 clients. In perspective, Facebook have 250,000 in the United Kingdom. And that's across 15 regions. Now, if this thing takes off, which obviously it will do, we've got a target of 360 customers to reach in the central region. Now, divide that by 15. Obviously, there'll be different variations and stuff between regions, but that could potentially mean 5,000 new SME clients. That means, by representation, they become our largest customer group, more than the big brands who are using us. So that becomes more important for us, and they become a much more important customer base. And it all rests on the shoulder of this team. So you've got Becky, who's here, Louise, Casey, and a bunch of old guys. So, yeah, that's great. But yeah, I suppose we're the team who've got to make it happen. We're 9 people. We are a startup. We have slightly nicer offices than the guys in Uber. But we've invested in the team. We're working in an agile and responsive way to ensure that we're proving this concept for ITV, to ensure that it works. So we had to formulate a strategy of how to take this to market, how we're going to engage people, and we had to do this pretty quickly. So we started off with 4 key objectives. The first one was obviously acquire new users, because people have got to use it, but not just as customers, but as collaborators and contributors. So we wanted to get people to have that outside view of how it works. We've spent so long sitting there, working on it, playing with it ourselves, and understanding it so much that we can't see the wood for the trees. So we want people to get out there, to break it a little bit. So we want our first customers to really be part of the development process. We want to create advocacy amongst the users, amongst our networks, and amongst the audiences that are watching. We also want to build a team template. So we've got 15 regions that we've got to move it across. So we've got to take this strategy that we have here, duplicate it 14 times into different regions. And also, I think the most important thing that's underlying behind all of this is to democratize TV. It's to help SMEs grow their business, realize ambitions, scale up, and open up new customer segments. And it's using a medium that was previously the preserve of like big FMCG brands. It was previously the preserve of big retailers or massive brands. Now, somebody who owns a restaurant, somebody who owns a small eBay business, they can use this. They can be on television. This is where I get a bit proud. This is proud Brummy Mark coming out here. Okay then, so the Midlands has been chosen for our pilot scheme because it is the most entrepreneurial region of the UK. So it's down to you guys, so give yourselves a big pat on the back. We were a city of 1,000 trades. We're a city of 14,000 SMEs, in fact. So, well, actually, the region, I suppose. But Birmingham's had more business startups outside of London for 5 years in a row. It's something like, was it 4,500 or something like that? Social, cultural, and economic diversity is a representative of the UK as a whole, all things that we can be proud of. We've got world-class accelerator schemes, access to global markets. Strangely enough, also, the Advertising Association's got onto this as well, and they have got an industrial strategy focus for not only the West Midlands, but also Scotland, because they realise how important these things are now. And they're getting involved in terms of mixed media campaigns that can be done. I recently just saw a tweet from MediaCom Birmingham who've just got involved in this. So they're a partner of ours, by the way. So obviously, we have to target within the Midlands. So we say, obviously, your company has to be based in the Midlands, looking to advertise across a 6-month period, and planning to invest anywhere between £200 and £10,000. Yes, this is the scary end, this is, to be fair, £10,000. The only reason we say that is because we've got quite a big chasm there, because £10,000, that's for the 2,500 existing broadcast customers we have. But anything below that, people can use this platform. And also the great thing about it is it gives us a good diversity of budgets, because that's what we want to see. And we want them to use our self-serve report, just be happy to use it and see how it gets on. Happy to tell us where we can improve and give us feedback. Like I said, there'll be collaborators and contributors. And not a previous advertiser on ITV. So what we don't want to do is cannibalise current, clients. What we want to do is we want to get complete novices to television getting involved in this. And then what we can do is we can actually learn from them as well while we do it. So the message we want to get across about ITV Business is, these are 5 big paradigms really that people see about TV. So first of all, is it accessible to me? This is it's the most watched television channel in the country. How am I going to get onto this? Well, you can nowadays. Is it affordable? We've just talked about that. 200 quid, as little as. Is it effective? TV has always been the most effective means of advertising. If you want to know that, I've got like Think Box stats you can come and speak to me about later on. Is it targeted? Now we can do that. Video on demand is an internet-based platform, so what we can do is we can use the data exchanges to ensure that we target the individuals who are watching your ads. Is it easy? Well, first of all, we're getting rid of all jargon. We also want to make sure that, and with the collaboration of our initial users, we want to make sure that this platform is as easy to use as possible. Yeah, so you don't have to be like a wizard to use it. So, because we have to kind of guide a lot of businesses to the platform and have to use it themselves, we kind of have to have a lot of activity in terms of getting people involved in it. So part of what we do requires kind of like very much a one-to-many conversation. So with a little bit of one-to-one thrown in. So we decided to get involved with a lot of networks. Some of them are here actually. So Innovation Birmingham, you're here. So that's very nice. But what we have to do is we have to harness the power and influence. It's ensuring that our goals of growing local businesses are in sort of like aligned with a lot of these networks as well, and making sure that we add value to what they do. Becky here, so yeah. So we, as mentioned, due to customer volume, what we have to do is we have to ensure that we get a lot of not just one-to-many time, but a little bit of one-to-one time. So we got a lot of short one-to-ones, and we get a lot of this from expos. By sitting there, people come to us. We're also very friendly, very approachable. We like to think that, and that's kind of in the spirit of self-serve. If we're there, people come along, people talk to us, take them through the platform. It's a very, very quick cycle before they're signed up, and then all of a sudden they're playing the thing. Oh, by the way, this was backed by the Greater Birmingham Solihull Local Enterprise Partnership. So speaking ops, hi. This is me doing my Spider-Man. So this is a spider, this is a dead one. So yeah, this was backed by Coventry Bid. So this is where we're doing a lot of very sort of one-to-many conversations and talking about that. It's great for feedback. It's also great for lots of opinions all at once and showing diversity and different opinions. Also, we were really fortunate through a partner of ours, the wonderful people at Colmore Bid. They gave us use of a shop, just a unit, an empty unit. Said, oh, you've got an empty unit, you can use it if you want. So what we did is we sprinkled a little bit of ITV magic, and what we did is we created what is, I suppose, it's our environment. ITV's environment is the living room. And so what we did is we started organising a few short, sharp, sort of 15-minute meetings where we could sit down, speak to clients, and, oh yeah, there's Waka. Waka should be in the room. He was earlier, anyway. With Becky, she is in the room. So yeah, plus it was just a fun day, so we made sure that we kept it fun, we made it creative. That was that one. We're also fortunate enough to, well, work for a TV broadcaster. So we decided to make use of the fast turnaround team that we have. We're using for ITV business clients, so ITV business clients have access to broadcast quality ads for as little as £300, which is amazing. So what we did is we thought, oh, well, we'll make one of those ads and we'll use some leftover revenue and inventory to produce a TV ad and stick it out on broadcast. So here's our 30-second ad.
If you think on-demand TV advertising costs an arm and a leg, rest assured, here at ITV, you don't need to spend big for your brand to sit amongst our best-loved shows. Whether your business is big or small, from as little as £200, we can help you build the perfect campaign. With the ITV Hub, you have the opportunity to target a tailor-made audience that suits you. It's quick, easy to use, and we can even help you make your ad. Register now at itv.com/business and bring your brand to life.
That's good as well, isn't it? That was a very cheap ad. So we come to sort of at the end where we're going to talk about challenges and learnings over the past couple of months. I've been told that I haven't got very long, so we're going to sort of Becky's going to come and talk to us about that as well. So we're going to be one. We've got a minute on it, haven't we?
60 seconds, quick.
60 seconds, quick. Let's shoot through it. So, okay then. So, internal challenges, a new team integration. So we had to work fast together. New school versus old school. What does that mean? Because there are
Me versus you.
Yes, exactly. I'm old. You're new.
Yeah, different approaches, different jargon, different approaches.
Programmatic
everything.
versus old-fashioned versus give me a discount. Time to scale up. Did we do it? Yes, we did. Budget and resources, did we have any? No, we didn't. Financial loss.
Borrow and steal situation, same as most of you will have in your own businesses. We literally, with the partnerships that you saw with the networks, we are having to lean so heavy and say, yes, we're ITV, but we're also basically a startup inside of there without a big snazzy company card and a big budget, and we are really having to use the value that we are giving to the whole community from the projects by supercharging growth, which is our little word, and leaning on it, saying, believe in us, work with us, and then when we go nationwide, we'll give it straight back because that's what we're doing.
Yep. Financial loss. Yes, we're making a loss. Every business in the first couple of years will always make a loss because we're investing in the product. We're investing in the most important thing, which is our customer base. External challenges. So marketplace, paradigms and preconceptions. Like what? Come on.
Well, I actually don't like the word paradigms and I don't really know what it means as the new school, old school thing. So Mark, please explain.
Okay, yeah, so the paradigms were the 5 things: accessibility, affordability. Affordability is the main one. So people thinking, oh, I can't afford television. So, no, 200 quid, come on, calm down. Size of marketplace, it's big, really big. 14,000 in the region already.
It's crazy big. It's to the point where the team that you saw, there's 9 people. We are all over the UK. Myself, Mark and Casey are based in Birmingham, and we are stretched so thin to try and reach all of these people because even though it's almost like a no-brainer for someone that wants to push and get out into the mass market, it's very difficult to get out of there and speak to all of them one-on-one and explain what the product is, how it can help them. With just a few feet on the ground, but we make it work.
Yep. Complexity of marketplace. It's very complex. It's very diverse. Yeah. What else can we say more about the complexity of the marketplace? I mean, every business is different. Every business has their challenges, and what we want to make sure is that we make this platform work for them, not just individually, but to a lot of businesses as well, because obviously we've got a lot of numbers to get through. So again, it's spreading ourselves thin. Levels of knowledge in the marketplace. Yet again, we just asked 3 people in the room knew what programmatic was, yet a lot of you could be using it at the same time. So level of knowledge in the marketplace, and we want to make sure we did not make this thing for people who are marketing experts. We made this thing for people who are good at their jobs, who want to get involved in marketing, who want to get involved in marketing their business and attracting customers.
A lot of SMEs as well, because of course they haven't used television advertising before because it's so expensive. They won't know the power of it because they haven't seen those figures hit their own bank account. They haven't seen the conversion from it. So with the whole expertise, with the whole complexity, everything, communicating that message of the power of TV, even though it's on a screen over there and you're not clicking straight through and continuing the experience, it's the power of having your brand next to premium content and being seen as a major player because you are on TV. Communicating that message is so important to us for growth and pushing this product. But yeah, moving on to economic factors, Mark.
Well, not everybody's going to have budget all at the same time, and we understand that finance and the like within small businesses tends to fluctuate. We're making a platform that's flexible, that can help people, and we have to make sure that these challenges are met by not only technology but our own business as well, so that we're filling those gaps at the same time. And finally, competitors. Now, people might think, oh, who are ITV's competitors? Well, in this space, Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, and also traditional media, believe it or not as well. They still occupy this space, and they're not going to give up without a fight.
And also, every single platform that you consume any type of media on is a competitor because it takes away our consumers' time. So, we don't just, invest into this side and the advertising side, we really invest into the content that we put out there. You won't believe it, but a lot of the shows that we watch on other channels are actually from ITV, and we push them out across there to keep the love of TV and, the great things about the TV shows that you watch live, and we all work together on that as well. But yeah, where are we?
So yeah, do you want to just give one lesson we've learned in the past 2 months?
Don't stretch yourself too thin because you will burn out, but you will all know that very well.
Okay, so mine is really, mine's be creative. Lots of people are doing a lot of things out there, and you're probably copying it, so add your own bit of magic to it, give it a bit yourself. But most of all, we want to make sure that you do one thing. Have fun! Enjoy yourselves! These are hedgehogs. We love hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs are alive.
Hedgehogs are amazing. Any questions?
Should we start?
Start at the front, walk our way back, yeah. Yeah, so do you think that the fact that ITV are protecting their existing clients from you cannibalizing them shows that they haven't really got the idea that, you aren't the competitor to them, but rather it's like Google and, the big tech out there that are going to come whether you try and protect yourself from them or not, if that makes sense as a question.
That doesn't make much. Okay, no, that doesn't.
So the idea that they're protecting themselves from you cannibalizing them.
Okay, that's from our internal. So, for instance, what we're looking at is the thing is that what we don't want to do is with existing clients and existing customers, they are already buying broadcast media, they're already buying video on demand media. We don't want to cannibalize that revenue, and we don't want to cannibalize that customer, in the sense that we don't want to be using that as part of our, as part of our video on demand trial. Once the pilot's over, we will be introducing it to existing customers. But at the moment, existing customers are using video on demand as an add-on to broadcast. So this platform in particular, where the targeting goes and all that sort of stuff, is that's just for SMEs at the moment. We don't want to muddy the waters. That's all it is. We don't want to mix things up at the minute.
Great. I have time
Is that
for
cool?
time for one more question. Your hand was straight up.
So, coming from a digital marketing background and being one of your potential customer maybe at some point, I got a question about your audiences and demographics. How exactly do you get the demographics data, and how precise is it?
Becky?
There's two different ways. So we have our first-party data. So does anyone in the room use the ITV Hub? You ever logged in? Yeah? We ask for your postcode. We basically build a profile around that customer, and that's our first-party data. Yeah. Yeah, so it just builds it. The behaviour, the interest we know from what they've been watching. We just basically have a basic profile. Further in depth, we do have third-party data. It's not something that's being offered through the ITV business platform. it's very basic things like where they are, what age they are, that kind of stuff. And we don't go too in depth with data.
Yeah,
So
and we use
and
we use their behaviour to pick up what sort of interest they have. So we have 34 interest categories aligned to our programming.
It would be animals,
Yeah.
not specifically dogs.
Yeah, pets and stuff.
Okay, you guys have done a great job. That was a half-hour stint, guys. That was good. Take a seat. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's it. We'll pop it in an email as well. You have all listened so well. We've had a jam-packed night, 4 speakers. It's a long time since we've had that. But what a great night celebrating firsts. How incredible. I can tell everyone is so dead right now, but well done. Give yourselves a round of applause. Very good. Okay, be sure to ask lots of questions. Please go and grab yourself a slice of pizza, grab a drink. We've loved having you here tonight. See you next month.